because there's a lot going on. It's not just like the in-room monitors, it's also online too. But yeah, so it was in the reverse classroom sessions, I went on a rant saying, why are we doing all these PDFs and then the whole format? And then in thinking about like, well, especially with the AI, like the AI needs the information in a machine readable format anyway, and we're moving toward that. But why would we fix PDFs to get back into the format of PDFs? As we're going through this process, is there a way to have some sort of transformation engine, take all the information and data, which is what people want anyway, not the content delivery format of the wrapper, which is the PDF, the Microsoft Word document, and the weird things that happen in the conversions versus like, just get me the information. And then is there information that can be used in a better form for all these things? And then in the conversations I had here and in the hallways, I learned some things. So, because people are talking about like, oh, AI uses markdown language now. Then people are saying like, well, back in the day, even HTML was a compromise. Like they originally wanted it in XML or SGML. And then now is it like, okay, can we get back to the intention of getting information back? We just want the information. And then how can we categorize it in a way or, my background's library science, although I never used a library degree. But in the conversations here, I met two other people who have a library science degree. I was asking about archives formats. So I'm here learning as much as everyone else. Like, okay, just thinking about this as a problem space. What do you all think, or what issues have you encountered, or how would you like information categorized, or what formats do you like? What do people like or don't like? Where do we want to go toward? What do we want to stay away from? All of that. So just, I mean, Unconference, like I think anything goes at this point, and maybe we'll just go around the room. And would people mind introducing themselves and saying a little bit about themselves, or any of that? Or which way should I go? Or who wants to go first? Oh, you got a mic.
I'll
You
go
go first.
first.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, I'll
Which
break
I
the
take
ice.
notes too. Let me
Sure,
take
take
notes
notes.
because then, and if people want these notes afterwards and people want to connect, then it's that would be something. Thanks.
My name is Eric Stearns. I am a accessibility specialist and a basically lifelong visually impaired person. And so accessibility is near and dear to my heart, as well as making a positive impact on people's lives. I've worked in accessibility professionally since about 2007, and have done a lot of testing and remediation, of course, and have moved into business analysis, strategic process design, and process implementation with regards to accessibility. So that's basically kind of my shtick. And Amy, should I provide some contact information then? Okay. Yeah. So my name is Erik Stearns, Stearns. And my email is Stearns, Stearns, at realtime, as if everything is happening in realtime.net. Yep. So I will pass it on to the next person who wants to go.
So I'm Corey Barentine. I'm going to hold my tag up so that you can spell my name. And I am the digital accessibility coordinator for the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which I started as a full-time role on October 13th. So, um, it was an additional duty as assigned previously for the last 3 years before that at the same agency. So before that, I was also an instructional designer and e-learning designer or e-learning developer for TCOL as well. And basically, kind of that was my professional introduction to accessibility, but my whole family is extremely neurodivergent in many different directions. And so it's always been really interesting to me. I didn't realize that it was really kind of like a field or anything like that until I got older, but it's something that is very important to me that people be able to access things despite however they're trying to approach from, they're able to get where they need to go, basically. So, and I'm mostly here. I'm kind of new to thinking about this in a bigger, broader sense. So I'm kind of here mostly to listen today.
Sorry, I didn't.
Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. We have just call it TCOLE, TCOLE. Yeah. Yes, sorry, I did forget. So it's it's I meant to. It's so it's my first name dot my last name at TCOLE dot Texas dot gov.
I don't have an organization right now.
Okay, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put self.
I am on LinkedIn though.
Yeah, same here. I'm on LinkedIn. Awesome, thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Chase Frank. I'm with the University of Texas at Tyler. I'm one of the electronic and information resources accessibility specialists. So we kind of like assess a lot of the technology that faculty will give to students or that they use themselves to make sure they're accessible. And it's really good to know that we can kind of make a difference in changing the culture on campus because that's been one of our struggles. And PDFs is a big part of that. So we're excited to hear about that today. Oh,
Titles down there, especially, you said it and I didn't catch it.
It's because it was this long.
it is. It's a pretty long one.
Mine's the same.
Y'all let me know that.
Did you want my email?
You want?
Sure. chase.frank@uttyler.edu.
I'm Christy Simmons. I'm also an EIR accessibility specialist at UT Tyler. My email address is my first name dot my last name at uttyler.edu. I've been in this position for almost 9 months now, I believe. And before this, I did administrative work, I did tech support, and I've done direct care human services. And this kind of position really just kind of put all of my previous experience into one little package. And I'm very much learning as I go and getting as much knowledge as I possibly can at far too fast of a speed, but we're getting there. Like I said, like Chase said, we're doing technology assessments. We're also trying to promote a culture of accessibility on our campus. And we are trying to get everybody trained on how to create accessible digital documents and while also learning it ourselves. So this is hopefully going to be a really productive conversation so that we can take some of this knowledge back and implement it.
Digital accessibility coordinator.
Um, my name's Wayne Dick, and I was a professor at Cal State University Long Beach, and really started up the was one of 4 people who started up the Accessible Technology Initiative for the Cal State system, where that was a few years back, and where we actually made, went from campus to campus and made them do their work more accessibly. And it was, oh, there we go. Now I got it. Okay. Also, I'm a mathematician, and I'm interested in accessible mathematics. I was born with low vision, and it was pretty hard getting my PhD in math without seeing the blackboard and reading with a magnifying glass all the way through. It was hell. I don't even know how I did it now. But that's one of the reasons I'm here today, because of course PDF became sort of the publication standard for mathematics, and it's always been a difficulty. So I studied quite a bit about all the different ways PDF gets created just for mathematics, and what you were saying about what you were saying about PDF coming in from all these sources, it really is kind of a mess if you really to try and restructure it.
.edu or did I type? Ah, I got it right for Chase, but not for you. Thank you. Thank you.
And when we get done here, with all the other participants, there's two people.
There's people online. Thank you.
I'm Mike Zapata, and I'm a digital accessibility specialist with Citibank, as most people call it. My email address is my full name, Michael Zapata, Zapata @citi.com. And I'm just interested in learning about more about what we're talking about. This idea of an accessibility library of Alexandria sounds like a really neat concept, and hopefully it won't end up like that when we became lost to the ages. But yeah, where I work at the city, we do a lot of stuff, with web stuff, accessibility for documents. Everything we publish is in PDF if it's not in a web format. And of course, we're trying to get away from that because of the issues that it has. And so I'm just curious to see what we can talk about today.
Okay, your turn. Thanks.
Hey, my name's Bill Brown. I'm a website designer and developer. I work for a company called Capellic. So that's Capellic. It's the name of a star that's actually 4 stars. But anyway, we make websites, Drupal websites for large nonprofits. And I chose to come to this because we make websites, and with AI around, there's kind of this question of like, are websites even going to be needed? Do people prefer websites when they just want the information? So like, there's a lot of like, my boss is having an existential crisis about it, and I guess so am I. But I think we have some time, but like it's still something that's weighs heavily on my mind.
Thank you, Bill. My name is Boughton Jones. That's Bouton Jones. I'm an IT business systems analyst, senior, which I think has something to do with analyzing business systems. But I mostly do other work as assigned. I work for the city of Austin, currently Austin Water, but there's a organization going on, and I might be working in some other departments sometime. My contact information, I think the best way to reach me is at bouton.jones@gmail. And I have a website. I was lucky enough to snag the domain name of boughtonjones.com before anyone else poached it. Not currently living. I had an uncle, Gardner Boughton Jones. Growing up, since his father was Gardner, he was called Boughton. When he was drafted in the Army before World War II, he decided he liked going by Gardner. I went the opposite direction. Boughton's my middle name, but I prefer it much more than my first name, which I'm not going to tell. I just, since I have the mic, I'm going to blot out, say something. This reminds me of one of my favorite books, Fahrenheit 451, where books are illegal. And books are actually a symbol. It's really symbolic. It's knowledge and heritage and literature that's under attack. And the way these people fight against it is by memorizing books. The novel ends where there's this community where books are passed on orally from one generation to another. And so, yeah, PDF, it is. It's just a format. And it's originally a format designed for static representation of what a document should look like. so that it's conveyed from one computer system to another, incompatible computer systems. And unfortunately, that has hobbled the evolution of PDFs. They're trying to get away from that. They're trying to make it dynamic so you can edit it, which is terrible. And it's time for the PDF to be replaced by something else.
And then there's a couple people in chat. I'm going to copy your information here, but can we open up the chat if someone on the chat wants to talk? I don't know if that's possible. Or anyone, is it possible for anyone to raise their hand? If you want to, if you don't want to, that's fine. Or should I read this here? We've got online or who? Is Nikki able to review? So Nikki Brossard. Let me scroll to the, I think my thing is right. Okay, Nikki says, I'm with Texas Water Development Board on our accessibility coordination team as facilitator and assist with our EIRAC with our accessibility program. And Nikki's email is nikki.bossard@twdb.texas.gov. So do we have a Nikki at the end? Oh, yep. She says, I'm also an IT systems analyst when I'm not doing accessibility. Aha, I can copy and paste here too. And then Megan, sorry, Megan, is it Lafrate? Okay, it says, I'm an instructional designer at Dallas College. Welcome. It's MIAFRATE at dallascollege.edu. Awesome. And then Jennifer Culver, Senior Director, College Accessibility Programs at Dallas College. Oh, so we got two from Dallas College. Jay Culver at dallascollege.edu. And then we're coming to the chat next. Okay, thank you. That's from all of you all. And the freight. Thank you. That's an I. It's not an L. Fretty. Sensor phosphate look like an L. It's an I. Thank you, Megan. Is it Megan or Megan? Now we're gonna ask. But I will copy these in. Thank you so much. So there's no ability to unmute people. And you're Rohan, or you're someone else's Rohan. But yeah, maybe for the beginning of discussion, I mean, maybe we can think in terms of near term and then future term, like Boughton was saying, like that. And in one of the sessions, someone was like, let's burn PDFs, right? And just for some background, y'all, I used to work for Adobe, right? And then the thing is, even within Adobe, like again, like Boughton said, it was a portable document format, right? It was meant for, like, Adobe first came out with, it was a print publishing standard. And then one of my colleagues who, I think he's the accessibility director now at Adobe, he's Rob Haverty. He taught me things too that, especially from the PDF side for accessibility, again, this portable document format was never meant to be used to pass information around. And then he even said once, I was like, people overuse PDFs. It's almost like when you want to protect something and you need it pixel perfect, that's when you use a PDF. He was saying, like, I was like, well, what do you do with something like a resume? He was like, well, resumes should be in Word, or there's a way to protect it in Word. If you don't trust someone to send a document and you don't trust them to change it, then it's like, then so PDFs were never meant to be passed around this way. So that was the premise. And then, okay, but what do we do now? So then maybe we could talk about the near term of like what's going on now. What are some near term solutions we can look at now? And then maybe we can discuss, okay, longer term solutions, burn the PDFs, or how do we move from these PDFs to a more maybe information, or like a wrapper, or a format agnostic format? And then is there a way with, a lot of the organizations have a lot of legacy PDFs. Like, how do we move to that? And then in these discussions, someone did ping me two resources on PDFs. I know they're having another discussion next door on a specific tool, and somebody else pointed me another tool as well. So we can take a look at those too. But if anyone has any like ideas or near-term solutions or suggestions for people, we can talk about near-term before we go long-term pie in the sky. Okay, here's Wayne.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it in a different direction, and this is an important one. But what Sean was talking about at the talk, the authoring tool, accessible authoring tools, and I was thinking of how you produce stuff. It is a really important thing, and that's kind of a critical point because people make a Word document and then someone says it has to be in PDF for some submission. Okay, you want to submit it to a journal, you got to put it in PDF. And so addressing that issue is, I think, part of the way of making a Alexandria library.
Well, I can speak to the point about like at city, a lot of times we have PDFs because it's actually required by statute. And that is a hard hurdle to break, when it's kind of been locked in institutionally. But I know one of my colleagues here, Darren Evans, has done a couple of sessions here where he promotes the idea of EPUB as an alternative to PDF, because he absolutely hates PDFs. His words. And I agree with him about that. And as I'm sorry, what was your name again? Amy. That's what I thought it was. I was going to say Anna, but I didn't think that was right either. Yeah, but that's essentially what PDFs were for. They were basically made as a way to kind of have a picture perfect document and then move that around. But that's kind of been the tyranny of the format, basically, more than anything else. And people have explored the idea of like using web for that. But of course, if we're having this much issue getting web accessibility done, how many more problems will we have? But as to the question you mentioned about, the legacy documents, I mean, we have documents that are basically scanned documents from the 70s, 60s, and so forth. And so moving that to a different format, I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem because we're already having to move it to PDF in some way. Moving it to another, hopefully a more malleable format would probably be a better fix just for historical purposes. But I think the main thing is we're just trying to figure out what is that next step going to be, even short term or long term. I'm just curious to find out what anybody has any ideas in that regard. Justin?
I'd like to something similar. The history of web design. When I got started in web design in the 90s, there was this drive to have your website look exactly the same, regardless of the web browser. And people would, pixel pushing is what it was called. They wanted it to look exactly. And if you variated from one browser to another, it was frowned upon. It was déclassé. And then, and I always wondered, well, it looks nice. It looks different, but it still looks okay in one browser to another. I was sort of a maverick that way. Eventually, with smartphones and smaller devices, people started embracing responsive design, which was a healthy step forward. But there was a similarity in the fixation. People wanted it to be a PDF. They wanted to embrace the limitations of a PDF into web design. And if we have a format that replaces PDF, it should probably be more like web design, more like HTML, something that is responsive. I know there are some technologies discussed about liquid format PDF, but I don't know much about that.
And the interesting thing is about the pixel perfect pushing, that was part of my rant in the unconference or the reverse conference sessions. Okay, so and then people laugh because I said like I wasn't around for the start of the internet. Like, I mean, I was around. I don't remember it because I remember getting into like learning my first like email and browsers and Netscape and all of that, but I don't remember some of the history of it. But from what I've heard and what I've read, there was a reason it was called a homepage, right? It wasn't supposed to be that pixel perfect. You weren't supposed to go to these walled gardens. Like I go to this site or that site. It wasn't supposed to be all that control, especially back in the day when people would spin up your own website from your own server, a box in your own basement. And the information was a little more, what do you call it? Not yeah, yeah. It wasn't like, okay, because these walled gardens, and then because we're not we're not the customers, we're the product. They want us to go to their walled gardens because us as a product are being monetized versus like what happened, yeah, in this day and age, and what happened to like, hey, no one can spin up their own website from their basement anymore because like the inequality even of the what do you call it? The search engine. Yeah, well that
Yeah, the algorithms.
that
Yeah.
now there are certain like all these structures, but what happened just to the information and the reason, and then I wasn't around for the history, but it was called a homepage because the idea was originally supposed to be more of a pull system, like an RSS feed, right? I want weather from this site. I want, the sports or the news from these sites. It wasn't supposed to, I go to this news site and they monetize me as advertising. I go to what, yeah. So go ahead. And we have news.
Well, Jennifer and chat. I mean, can I talk?
Can we switch mics? Oh no, this is my mic now, and that's his mic.
I just wanted to build upon what you were talking about homepages. Originally, Tim Berners-Lee wanted something interactive where you don't have web developers, web designers, and users. You had both people. He wanted more of a collaborative World Wide Web. And homepages means the page that you built for yourself on your computer, on your personal computer, but you would give access to the world. But it was your homepage because you went to it. It was for you. I had another point, but I forgot what it is. He wanted it to be collaborative so that you don't have a user and a webmaster. You have people on the World Wide Web, academic collaborators. It was originally started in CERN, Switzerland, the Educational Institute. So professionals in the sciences wanted to share their findings and their articles. And rather than use various proprietary formats for sharing it, the World Wide Web would democratize it. Everyone could be a publisher. Everyone could be a publisher and everyone could be a consumer. And when Mozilla browser moved away, when it stopped or chose not to include collaborative tools in their browser, he was very upset. He wanted the browser to be a browser and an editor.
Perhaps we can build that again. And I have a quick story on that too. One of my mentors at Adobe, Larry Macinter, he was around back in those days, like so friends with these people, right? He was it Stanford Research Group or so? They were building another model for the internet. And then, but their model was a little bit more planned. And then Tim Berners-Lee just released it to the world, and they were like, "Well, we were working on a different model." So there's stories behind that. So people from all these years, they had different ideas of how this, like what you said, the information democratization should be. But again, we took limitations in like HTML and things like that. But I was like, okay, now that we got AI, now we got to like, can we revisit all that? All right, who else? Someone in the chat, let me read real quick. My apologies. Is this from who's? Oh, Jennifer just says, I need to stay muted, but I think some of the PDF decision trees are helpful for some. I'm going to write that down, PDF decision trees. So we should discuss that. Sorry, I'm going to put this down while I type. Do you want, should we move to that real quick? Just so, okay, or do other people have other short-term solutions? And do you want to introduce yourself as well? Sorry, or we'll come back.
Luis.
Hello, do you want to introduce yourself as well? No, I'm multitasking here.
Deep in my thoughts here. Hello, everybody. I'm Luisa. I'm a service designer within the city of Austin. I come from a tech background in UX research, but I studied mechanical engineering at MIT 5 years ago. I'm a very different person now, but I think I still really value the potential that technology can have to make people's lives better. So I'm trying to learn more about that. Luisa, Luisa.
Give your contact information.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you can find me
Oh,
at,
if you want, only if you want. Yeah.
yeah, you can feel free to email me, luisa.apolaya.torres@austintexas.gov, or find me on LinkedIn. Luisa. Luisa. Sorry. Mhm. Luisa.apolaya, so that's APOLAYA. Torres, TORRES, @austintexas.gov.
Dash.
No dash. Yep. Yes.
Nice to meet you. So other short, I'm sorry, I wasn't typing so fast. If Wayne or Michael want to give a recap of what you were talking about, I can put it in the notes, or if not.
Sure. Actually, there's a couple of things I wanted to say, but I think that there's a side of converting all this old stuff, and I think that's really important. But also, what we really want to do is ultimately make it easy for people to make good stuff. And I think, and that's, the stuff you do with faculty. I remember when I used to work with faculty and I said, well, if they can't turn out the accessible document at 2 in the morning before they have to turn it loose to their class, it's pretty useless for faculty because you've got such an overload of stuff to do. You're always going to have one thing you have to do at the last minute. And so I think, almost that model is like, you should be able to do it at 2 in the morning the night before, because if you're a busy person, there's always going to be something you have to put off. And I just keep that in my mind. And so that's why I was thinking of the authoring tools more for the future, not for cleaning up the past. Someone else was.
Michael, sorry, do you want to recap what you had said?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wonderful.
You want to take care of that?
Oh, yeah, or maybe you first so I can finish my notes.
Okay,
And then
okay,
we'll
yeah.
go there, because there's a couple people. Thank
Well,
you for letting me know.
as before, as Wayne was saying about, the history of WCAG, history of PDFs and so forth, and the difficulty that we've had historically with them. I was just more talking about how, sometimes that's been the difficulty of getting away from that is just because of institutional stuff, like, laws that codify that say you must, for like proof of a transaction, this must be a PDF to be a legal, verification of something. Which we run into a lot with banking, because that just happens to be the agreed upon platform that we tended all to use. But to your point, Wayne, it's like a lot of it just tends to be very technical. And I notice with what we do here at, with all the accessibility conferences, there's always some folks that are like, I don't know what this is. I'm not a technical person. And we kind of have to onboard them a little bit and uplift them a little bit to do that. But to Wayne's point, it's like, it really shouldn't be that hard, because if it's about information, data, basically, I mean, maybe it's because of the way we've kind of been thinking about it for the last 30 odd years as the web's been around. Maybe there needs to be a new way of thinking about how do we present this information in a way that's much more even even agnostic from, I think from you said about HTML. HTML has its own tyrannies that's built into it. So, and every platform I think has that too. But I mean, part of it's standardization. We want to make sure everybody's doing everything the right way. So you probably maybe can't get away from that, but there must be some way to, because we all understand the data, as people, as humans. So, and now with AI is coming up as possibly a conscious thing, maybe in the next 20 or 30 years, how will it understand it? Because that's one thing I was fascinated by what you brought up in your class, Wayne, about when you're talking about how AI didn't understand gaps.
Yeah.
It did not perceive information like way humans do. Just, if you step away from the numbers and the letters and all that, it had no concept of spaces between, the symbols that we use to communicate. It was just totally something foreign to it. And he had to teach it to do that. So maybe there's other things we're not seeing because we've just gotten so accustomed to it. And maybe if we solve that problem, and maybe with Wayne's work, it might be something leading to that direction. It might solve some of these other problems.
I want to follow down that as well. Oh, we got a hand. Are you first?
Thank you. So I was actually wondering, because you said that there's like legal requirements that you publish to PDF, but I'm wondering if there's like a prohibition on publishing to any other format. So, and I'm wondering because one of the things that I'm doing at my agency is that I'm trying to get us to move away from PDFs entirely. And so we publish two major things in terms of PDFs. One is forms and the other one is curriculum. Forms is the easier one for me to convince people because I'm like, web forms exist and then nobody prints stuff out and is asked to go get a money order. I don't know what that is. I'm too young.
Trust me, it's a headache.
So that's what I'm trying to do. But for the curriculum is where I'm having a little bit more of a why I wanted to be here, why I went to Derek Evans or Darren Evans session on EPUBs. Because I'm kind of trying to figure out how to move forward. And one of the ideas that I had is to maybe publish our curriculum in HTML or maybe in EPUB format and make it available on our site. And then we use Drupal actually, so I would like to talk to you some more. And then have like a print to PDF button. So you can get it in the format you want. If you want to go old school to PDFs, you can have it HTML or EPUB. But I'm not sure if that's just creating extra steps. I don't know. I kind of wanted thoughts on that idea.
Kind of tacking on that, working in education, we have faculty who want to distribute their information and do not want to allow it to be edited. So that's why they hold so tight to the PDF. Even though you can edit a PDF, it just takes a little more work. They're very hesitant to use protected Word documents because you've got to set a password. What happens if, that needs to be edited and you're not around to change, to enter the password. So I'm not very familiar with EPUB, but I'm wondering if that's something that would be more appropriate for the kind of documents that faculty are putting out. I don't know what the answer is on that one, but I just think it might be something to explore for academic purposes. I know, obviously ebooks, but I don't really know much about EPUB format.
Oh, Nikki has her hand raised. Nikki, I don't know if you want to go on voice or should I read your comment out loud?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
They can't unmute because of the way that the Zoom is set up. So you got.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You
got to read the comment.
You can't open the Zoom? Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Was that Nikki?
Yeah.
Hey, we can't hear you. Oh, is there a volume? Or should I turn my volume on my machine up?
Well, I wasn't talking until now. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Nikki. Yay.
Hi, y'all. I wasn't going to type this because there's a lot of information, but as the Water Development Board manages a lot of data, as I'm sure you can expect, of regular water, flood data, and all of that kind of stuff. And so a lot of times we're forced to crunch all of that into PDFs as opposed to providing it in some other format like an XML file or an HTML file that people can go to if they want that data. So I'm looking for ways that we can, and as a state agency, we're sort of stuck with PDFs. I think somebody else mentioned that. And it would be nice to find out some sort of alternative where we could provide that data, even if it's just the link from the PDF, so that we could keep the data in its raw format and we wouldn't have to try and manipulate these Excel spreadsheets into PDF, which take hours and hours and hours to remediate because you've got to do all the table tags and all that kind of stuff, where we could just provide them the Excel file itself, as opposed to same thing with Word documents. You know, I don't know. I think we've got that same stigma of, oh, I don't want to post a Word document. It can be changed, but you know, making that transition to something other than PDF, I think it's gonna require something on the governmental side before we can do that. But
Well,
yeah,
this is Amy, and I only learned this when I worked at Adobe. Like the first time I learned anything about PDF accessibility was at Adobe, and then got certified to teach about accessible PDFs. And here's the thing, I'm not really even good at making accessible PDFs, especially when weird anomalies happen. But I did learn that, so PDF as an open document format, again, most people use it as like just passing information. And again, it was meant to be print publishing. But there is a way to attach like an attachment to a PDF. So again, PDF is a format for delivery. And you can actually attach an attachment to PDF. So there's a joke where like PDF is where data goes to die. Because again, if you put like, you sort of can put tables in a PDF, but it's just then you have to tag it correctly and things like that. But I always thought for academic papers, like if you're a researcher and you want people to look at your data and you want people to replicate your data and then maybe take your work and like then do more research on it, you can attach the data in a CSV file onto the PDF itself. Now, and up until I only checked this about 6 months ago. Up until 6 months ago, other people rendering PDFs, like Acrobat could show you the attachment on a PDF. I'm sorry, an attachment attached to a PDF. But say you open it up in your browser in Chrome, Chrome didn't show that there was an attachment. Like if you open it in Chrome, you wouldn't even know there's an attachment to this PDF. But I just checked about 6 months ago. I saw that Chrome now shows attachments, but I don't really see people using attachments with PDF at all. So I don't know, again, like what you're all saying for restrictions, is that something that could be used? All right, Michael has a comment on that too.
I think that goes back to how people are accustomed to using an item and not really how it's meant to be used. And so I know with PDFs, like we had said, that it was made for a printing format more than anything else. And then it became this thing how we communicate documents via the web that couldn't be done with HTML easily. It was kind of like the path of least resistance to do it that way as PDF. And now it's become the way that people expect to do documents. And then, again, you can secure a PDF, you can secure a Word doc, but most people have become accustomed to the easy way, with air quotes, that PDFs are the way to do everything. And going to Wayne's point, people just aren't educating themselves on what they can do with these things. They just kind of accept them as they are, what they've been told they can do, rather than, as Amy was saying, that we can do some things with it. But part of the problem with that, especially with the web, is with browsers, a PDF also has very limited accessibility. Because we always tell folks that if you have a PDF, don't read it in a browser. Download it, open up Adobe proper, Reader or Pro, and work with it there. You can't work with it within the browser because it takes away so much of the accessibility tree in the process. And it also renders a lot of its functionality. Even if you have the accessible features there, some of the features that you would have native to the PDF format are gone because the browser strips it away. And again, goes back to the idea for rendering a page, not actually making it usable. So maybe that's the other part. Maybe working with the browsers to be able to, and I guess because of Adobe being the proprietary owner of that walled garden that is PDFs, even though it's meant to be a free format, maybe there needs to be more cooperation at that level. but that's also another culture change we need to somehow change.
Let me respond to that real quick. So PDF is an open format.
Right.
It's just that, again, when the browsers are interpreting that format, that's up to them. So then it's like you have to coordinate amongst them versus like, well, Adobe. Yeah. Yep.
You have to have Adobe. The big problem is that you have to have Adobe Pro to be able to remediate and make accessible, and that is beyond a paywall.
Yeah. Or other companies could do a competitor because it is an open data format. So, but you're right, there aren't others out there.
What I've been noticing in the conversation is that if we're going to make this Library of Alexandria, there has to be a data format that actually can lock exactly what was said. We just have to have that possibility. I mean, people use PDF, I mean, for the same thing, like all the policies of the Cal State system are in PDF because they're afraid someone's going to change the wording in the policy, you know, and send it around to everybody else, which you could do anyway, but.
Actually, I think one of the things that we really need to do is kind of approach this from almost a business analysis perspective. In other words, is that we need to look at what the original intent was with, like, for instance, with PDFs. And then what we need to do is look at the requirements that we are that we want with regards to this new format or this new publication, whether it be EPUB or whatever, and maybe even make that open source so that way it's contributed contributed to by the community rather. And once that's done, then that standard can always change. But at the same time, because it's open source, it's inspectable. We can change, you know, we can add requirements as technology changes, so forth and so on. So that's one way of, I think that we could actually do this not only short term, but also long term. And I think that's the process that we need.
I just want to make a comment real quick. I think, Wayne, you said format to lock data, and maybe we're going to have a longer term discussion, but lock versus provenance and like tracking changes of what was changed or tracking that it's not changed. So that's a different conversation too. But I'm just going to leave it as an open question because that's a longer discussion. Or anybody else has more short-term solutions or comments?
Anyone?
And there was a comment online about, and I think we should do this at some point too, to like maybe we could brainstorm on a PDF decision tree just on what things we're working on right now. Or other short-term comments like lock data or.
I think the other short-term comment is that we need to keep government entities out of it. Okay.
All right, hold on. Sorry, Eric, what's just like keep governments what?
Keep governments
Out of the government process. Okay, okay. And about it.
Okay, so this might be a rabbit hole, but
Rabbit hole.
it might be a little deviation from the topic, but not much. Before the pandemic, I was researching at work the electronic signatures. And a entity that I was working for at the time was very resistant to using electronic signatures. They wanted PDFs, image-only PDFs, because they wanted to show that there was a signature there. They felt it wasn't legal unless you could actually see a wet signature. And even though I did research and saw in the law that no, it doesn't have to be a wet signature. It just has to be audible, and with very few exceptions. Thankfully, the pandemic came along, and I was able to combat the resistance to electronic signatures because I just went ahead and changed all the paper documentation that I was maintaining to electronic signatures, just so that we could keep afloat. But here, I guess the core of it is the fear that electronic signatures were bad, and you had to have scanned PDFs of wet signatures. Not true.
All right, can I respond to that? I learned
No. No, you
No,
can't.
no, 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 no. I learned something new recently, or actually at lunch today too. A woman was saying like she had her identity stolen because her handwriting was very neat in her signature so that people could forge it easily. And I mean, I just heard that at lunch today. So then when she was going through this, like after her identity was stolen, they're like, no, you need a messy signature so that it's more human. So now she makes curly cues and things are like, people are like, what is this bubbly? Like they can't even read it. So on the flip side of that, also as I'm doing some documentation or whatchamacallit, I've been doing like a, private trust, that kind of stuff. It's like the more I learn, like, whoa, as we go into this IT hackable hacking thing world, like an electronic signature proves that this was signed by this computer and it could, but what if that was hacked? And it was like, so this is like, yes, for a point in time, like, okay, why wouldn't we accept an electronic signature? We're moving the world like, wait, hold on a session. Like what makes, and then what about identity? What about like, how do you prove the electronic signature was signed by a human? Or in this world about agents, like maybe you do want an agent to sign for you, but is that your signature or is the computer? What if they made a decision for you? That was like, wait, hold on. Legally, what happens?
I like to follow up with 2 points. First point, I'm going to be forgeable because my signature is such a mess. Two, there's a difference between there's electronic signatures, which include digital signatures. Digital signatures are the more secure, but electronic signature can just be a copy, a photo, an image of your signature, and that's perfectly legal. Sure, someone can forge it, but there's a difference between attestation and forgery. Uh, Attestation, it's the legal proof that you intended. So you're the boss, you turn to your assistant, say, post this and add the image of my signature to it. And that's legal. Also, what the C-suite forgets is if you're publishing it on your official website, either external internet site or intranet site, the fact that it's published is attestation in itself. You don't need the signature at all, whether it's digital uh, or not digital electronic. So electronic is the broad category. Digital, which lawyers love because it has more of a trail, is digital.
Sorry, I missed that. Electronic signatures include digital signatures?
Yes. So electronic signatures is a larger category. Digital is specific where there's, you register your digital signature with your email address. It'll show your signature as well as the date and time. That's the Adobe digital signature.
Oh no. This gets into like, yeah, digital ID.
Yeah, maybe we should just assign a unique prime number to people when they're born.
No, tattoo it on their forehead.
Okay, cool. I'd rather. Hi, everyone. There's, I think, John Kirkwood. I don't know if you want to come off mute to introduce yourself, but we did a round of introductions about where people, organization, background, and thoughts on data formats or where we are with PDFs and things like that. And some people are giving their contact information as well, which I'll send out when I clean up my notes. But yeah, feel free to introduce yourself. Feel free to come off mute if you want, or I can read your comments type. Thanks.
Sure. I think I'm off mute now. Can you hear me?
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah. That sounds like yes, I think.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay,
can hear
great.
you very well.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You I can hear. The rest I couldn't hear there. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, no, this is fantastically interesting to me, and I've bumped up against this in many different ways, and the whole aspect of attestation of a signature and how to not only do it but even make it an accessible signature, in that someone who is blind, how they can then sign things and get through a process of signing something online too. But I don't know, the federal government that I've seen now is we've done video attestation where you actually get interviewed and have a person ensure that it's the right person that is signing this document or is agreeing to this contract or whatever. So I think that the target is moving, especially now that we have all these devices on us as well, too, where even your location and that can be tracked to you through your uh, your phone company or whatever too. So there's lots of different ways to do this, and I just find this to be an interesting conversation around this.
Amazing. Thanks, John. And do you want to give yourself an introduction of
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, John Kirkwood, been on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Working Group for 5 or more years, probably more. um, Former digital accessibility director for New York City's Department of Education. Worked with various other clients of a small business called City Mouse, making and consulting around digital accessibility. I'm on the Cognitive Accessibility Task Force for the W3C, and very interested in how we make the web and electronics useful to all of us as we're aging, and in the future, as we all will have this same disability in some ways. So when you have memory issues or processing speed issues, that you just can't get through these massive online forms. And when is that really legally inaccessible to all of us? And let's figure out how to do it right so that we can have a future of the internet that works for all of us.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
What about his contact?
Oh, do you want to give contact
Oh,
information?
sure.
Oh, optional.
No, it's totally, I would love to do it. Kirkwood at citymouse.com. CITYMOUSE.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much. No,
And please get in touch.
Thank you. I'll send it, or I'll ask them, should I just BCC or should I include everybody?
Sure, you can send it to everyone, and LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch. I think we all have lots, email inboxes. I'm very wary of. So, but message through LinkedIn, or love to get in touch, and you can message directly through LinkedIn. Probably will bump up fastest.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Anyone else online have any comments? Right. And we're going to 3:30. Is that right? 3:30, yes. All right. So how about this? Is what? Or earlier device. I know everyone's like, anyone to the happy hour or the meetup, right? Or maybe I'll see if I can pull up the meetup information. Maybe let's take 5 minutes to talk about the PDF. What was it? Where's my thing? Decision tree. Yeah. Because I think that would be useful short term, and then maybe we could talk more about long term formats and I actually don't know much about EPUB myself, but EPUB is based off of XML or SGML, but HTML. Yeah. Someone else was telling me something else, but yeah, let's get that on the table too. But let's do PDF decision tree first, because I think that would be actionable for people, hopefully right away. Is that right? 1, 2 short term solutions, 3. Here, I'll just go. Anyone want to start us off? Oops, no. Where's I?
Well, I've kind of already touched on it, but if you don't have a legal requirement to use it, then that would probably be the first decision point right there. Find some other method. And going to what Wayne was talking about, the idea of locking things down. I mean, when you publish a document, like on the internet, it is there. And maybe that might be a better alternative before going to, say, PDF, like going to HTML to publish an item like a form, especially a form. It's much easier to make that accessible. And the other thing I think another thing that popped up just now, and if there is a need to lock it down, HTML would be a better way because once it's published, it's there. Again, barring any hacking at the server level.
Oh, so if there's a need to lock, is there a need? Let do it more of a decision. Is there a need to lock it down? If not, consider HTML. Is that how you'd say it?
I would say if so, use it. You go to HTML first. Go to HTML first.
How are you locking it down in HTML?
By flipping it.
No, it's like if. Well, my thing is that if you're publishing a document, any document, and it needs to be out there on the web for people to consume, and by again by the logic that we have from some of our executives that say we need to lock this down so no one can the document. Right. Yes.
Then how do I do the decision tree? If so or if not?
Well, if so, publish it as an HTML document. I think in my head, the PDF decision tree is that ultimately PDF is going to be the last resort for anything we do.
So maybe lock, we might have different definitions of lock. So
Yeah, I think that's right.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Since that's the case, I'm just going to consider publishing as an HTML document. What's the other? Okay, so it's like consider. Okay. Maybe I'll just open up to questions.
Yeah.
Consider, maybe that's just a separate point because it should as HTML. Other suggestions?
Well, mine might be a bad one, but we totally pushed away from PDF completely because it's so difficult to make accessible. And unless the primary documents are accessible, you have to make the primary documents accessible and then produce the PDF. But the whole aspect of remediating PDFs is just fantastically time consuming and really a really difficult user experience in the end.
Okay.
Consideration, do you need a signature? Do you need electronic signature? Yes. Maybe I can give a little example.
Yeah. Good point.
There was an organization I was working for. I suggested that rather than send in these mailing in these physical forms with wet signatures, put a fillable PDF online with an electronic signature field. Our web developer, on a visceral basis, hated PDFs. So he came up with his own solution, a web form with a box at the bottom where you could use your cursor to sign. And the question, that was his decision. My question was, okay, could a blind person sign this?
Right.
And his solution was, well, no, but they can go to one of our many offices and someone can help them with that.
Yeah. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, that doesn't hold it in the courts. I've had that one in the court, and that one didn't work.
And Jennifer suggested Ohio State has a good PDF decision tree. I've got the link here, so I will send this out to everyone as well. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so I think we got 10 minutes left. Anything else with PDF decision considerations? Or, because I know some of us have encountered this, and consider publishing as HTML, push away from PDFs. Make primary documents accessible first. Yes, Louisa.
Thank you. I have a question. I don't know if it's applicable in this decision tree, but I think about a lot digital literacy, and there will, I think in my perspective, will always be people in society that need some sort of paper document to interact with information, especially essential information like governmental. I'm thinking about, for example, recent immigrants to Austin. They engage with the clinic by filling out a form with essential health information, and a lot of them either don't come in with a phone or, when asked to fill out a form on a tablet, have a lot of difficulty doing so. Um, so I'm wondering where that fits into this whole conversation. And I understand there's no clear answer on that, but that's something that I've been thinking about as well.
I'm adding it as a PDF decision consideration. So consider digital literacy, need for paper, or limitations in electronic access. All right. Any other PDF decision considerations? Boughton.
I have one. Did you call on someone? Sorry.
Oh, John, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut anyone off there. One that I would say is internationalization. That was a big issue for one of places that I worked. We had 9 different languages that we need to do things in. Um, uh, One of them was Urdu, which is non-ASCII, which could be presented in PDFs, but not readable. Very complex, but internationalization gets there with, especially when they're characters.
Got it. Thank you.
Boughton. This is kind of redundant because I mentioned it earlier, but publishing to the web or the intranet is attestation in itself. So I say, I'm not a lawyer, but I say if you've published it online, then that's attestation in itself.
And then what about tracking? Okay, so that's a perfect segue into the last, like, I don't know, 7 minutes or so for more future format considerations, which is more of the stuff I'm interested in. Anyone want to start? Or maybe I could just type something future format. Actually, I'm just put attestation tracking, signatures. Yeah, all that.
That'll work. Such a weird word.
Yeah. Provenance. I'm actually a blockchain person, so I'm actually interested in provenance too, if there's a way of combining things. And what? In France. No, that's Provence. Okay, so I'm just gonna write down some of the formats we talked about, right? Provenance. I was like the history, or like, okay, maybe I'm not even understanding it correctly, right? So when I say a piece of art, like there's a whole chain of history of where that art was, like someone painted it, or maybe some, like, what do you call it? Some person bought this, bought that, but so there's a whole tracking.
So it's called chain of custody then.
Chain of custody. Ooh, I like that. Chain of custody. Thank you.
In the 1930s, it gets a little muddled.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we named some high-level formats, which I do want to research more. So maybe what I'll do is, before sending the notes out to everyone, I will do some online searches to feel like, okay, I feel like I need to go back to learn, okay, what is XML? What's the difference with, I haven't heard SGML for like at least maybe 20 years, again, when this topic was brought up again. So I will do some research on that. But like, for these formats, people name things at me and I'll write them down in formats to consider, and then I'll do some research on it. So it might take me a while to get these notes out, but like I do want to, and maybe we can continue the discussion, or in the email, have people opt in to say like, okay, do we want an email group? Do we want to continue this? Do we want to, do we get to keep the AccessU Slack list? Can we start a channel? So like open questions. But let me just start typing and you all shout at me. Hold on. So formats to consider.
Someone said EPUB.
Yeah, EPUB is one.
I'm gonna put XML, SGML, others. Getting out of PDF, right? So I'm not going to put, so maybe these are the ones we want to go to unless should we just, or do we want to do pros and cons of some of the like Word, PDF, or no, let's move to the future or others.
Can I make a weird observation?
Go for it. Boughton has a weird observation.
A weird
Coming
observation.
on.
The current Office documents, the extensions that end with X, like docx, XSLX, those are XML documents. They're XML documents. They're no longer electronic documents. They're XML.
Okay, sorry, maybe those terms, they're no longer electronic?
The extensions.
They're not digital. Or maybe I'm not using the right term, but they're no longer computer language. They're XML.
Oh, that's
Are they no longer proprietary formats? Is that what that really is?
I don't think we're that lucky.
Yeah,
Right.
not with Microsoft, no.
Fair.
investigate. Oh, hello. Yes. So, oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Anna and Sotana, do you want to introduce yourselves real quick? So, Anna Callahan. Yes, I will add you to the email list about different formats. Do you want to do a quick introduction before we go? And I
Oh,
will copy
sure.
this in. Thank you. Hey, we can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, I was just eating my lunch. Yeah, I work for a organization that called For Culture. It's forculture.org. And we're in King County. We fund organizations and individual artists. We give grants out. So we're just trying to figure out, like, in terms of people, we have these worksheets that people do to try to kind of fill out their grant before they actually fill out their grant on the portal. And so that's been kind of a long term trying to figure out, like, do we do Word docs or PDFs or filled PDFs? Or I don't know that we can do like HTML pages for them all, but maybe we could, maybe like a Microsoft form would be better. Anyway, so that's kind of why I'm listening into this.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. And where are you from or what organization you're with?
Seattle, with For Culture.
Oh, sorry. How do I spell that?
The number 4 and then the word culture.org.
forculture.org. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sotana Hoots. I don't know if you want to come out mute or I can read your comments in the chat too. .org. Thank you.
Totally.
Sorry, y'all. I'm in a hospital room, so it's really not the best place for me to be talking.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Wish I could be there in person.
Next year, that'd be great. Next year. Okay, so Sotana, nice to meet you. I'm going to copy that in here too. Oops, I guess I can't copy because I think my computer is just slowing down. But yeah, thank you for the discussion, everyone. Oh, it's 3:30. So anybody else with form data formats that you want me to investigate, let me know. Other than that, any last comments, anyone? Going once? All right.
One thing I was going to say was voice and AI covered.
Ooh, hold on. Yeah, voice and AI, I'll add that to the list. Oh, maybe that's when my computer died. That's what I think.
That's it.
Okay,
Didn't want that.
voice and AI, and I will copy that information in. And thank you, everyone, for a wonderful AccessU. Thanks, everyone, and great to meet you all online too. Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Very great one.
Take care.